What's up, guys? It's Mike Frank with Berkshire Hathaway. Again, Debbie Dwyer, our branch manager and broker here at our Roland Park location. Going back into the contract, talking a little bit more about purchase price and the payment, the way that we're going to structure the time of the contract and when we're going to get to settlement.
The purchase price, most of the time when you're going out and looking for a property, you already have some guidelines because you've talked to a lender previously. Also, you've had a buyer consult of some sort and you've discussed what the neighborhood is, what the value of the neighborhood is, and what you're willing to purchase in that neighborhood. So you've had this discussion. So by the time you're ready to make an offer, you really have a number in mind, and you're going to talk to your agent and figure out what is the best number for your initial offer.
And the seller's going to be doing the same thing, right? The seller's going to be, creating a listing price, and we're going to have that conversation later, right? But the listing price, then figuring out what they're willing to accept. So as we talk about purchase price, it's really what is the agreed upon price that the buyer and seller have actually created. The offer came in, buyer offered, seller countered, however we got to that position. The purchase price is really the number at which the house is going to be transferred with ownership.
Correct.
Right?
Yes.
And then we talk about the way that we're going to pay. And this is something that's really confusing to a lot of people. I say things like, hey, how much do you want to put down in a deposit? We call it an earnest money or
earnest money, good faith.
Good faith deposit, yeah. But it's not a down payment. Because people say, oh, well, I'm putting 20% down. No. That's two different things. Right. We're putting down a deposit as if we were going to a car dealership to buy a car. We're going to come back tomorrow, but we're going to give you a check today.
Right.
That's a good faith deposit.
It's, hey, I'm going to make an offer on this property for this amount, but I'm going to give you this amount of money now so you can consider it, and you know that I've got some skin in this game.
Right.
That I have some money that I'm going to use. And that deposit, earnest money deposit, will then be applied towards the buyer's closing costs.
Good point. And the other thing I was thinking was the amount. How much is the amount? So what I tell my clients is 1% to 3% is a great range for every property. The minimum that I would really recommend would be probably $1,000, right?
Probably, yep.
And the maximum would be $50,000. I mean, that's the biggest one we've ever taken.
Right.
So it really comes down to your comfortability and what might make sense for you. As a buyer, you might feel like it's a lot to risk. As a seller, you might feel like there's not enough on the table. And you really have to just figure out how is that going to play into your negotiation.
Right.
In the end of the day, that's that.
That's that.
You could put down a first and a second and a third deposit 1 week at a time. You could break it down in different ways that are going to make you feel comfortable. And we also now take deposits via wire, so you don't have to hand a check.
Correct.
There's a lot of different things happening in the new market.
A lot of different variations of taking a deposit. Also, that's also going to be spelled out how that deposit's going to be delivered.
Right. How it's going to be delivered, who's going to hold it.
What entity is going to hold it, be it the brokerage or the title company, or a third party that everyone's agreed upon. So there's all different ways for that earnest money deposit to be held in an escrow account and then applied towards the buyer's closing costs.
And as you apply it towards closing costs, closing is the day in which you actually settle on your home, which is technically called contract consummation, but we're not going to go into that. We call it settlement, right? So the date of settlement is clearly defined in the contract, and it shares the date that the seller can expect the buyer to close on the home. Unless otherwise noted, it could be sooner, or there may be a settlement extension, but the earnest money deposit is going to go towards your closing costs, which is going to be due at settlement, right? When you now own the house.
Correct.
Congratulations.
And then settlement date. That's a date, again, that you've agreed upon. You've made sure that the loan, if there is a loan, can be funded within that period of time. So you've had a discussion with the lender. Hey, can we do this in 30 days, 45 days, etc.? You know what that is. You've talked to the buyers. Hey, you're going to be in town this date. Really important to make sure that everybody's in town, and you've made sure that that coincides with whatever the seller wants to do. So you need to have a discussion about settlement date. And I also say, look at the calendar.
Right.
Make sure it's not a holiday.
Not a holiday.
Make
not
sure
a
it's not a Monday after a holiday. You want to make sure the banks are open. You want to make sure that your title companies are open.
Yeah, no. And another thing about the date of settlement, as a buyer's agent, you're going to be focused on the date that you're offering. How quickly can lender issue a commitment? How quickly can we get to settlement? The title company, so on and so forth. But as a seller, you might be considering when you are interested in settling. Correct. You might want to push settlement out, or you might want to bring it up. You might want to use that as a negotiation tactic too, and there's just so much to this contract.
Right.
We're excited to bring you guys more.